Hello, and welcome to CLEA'S World. I am Clea, and today I would like to share with you more of the information I've received from the 25th dimension during my last QHHT Hypnosis session. I'll be reading from a transcript of the session, and when I refer to Lorrayne, I'm speaking to my practitioner who's asking me questions I prepared in advance of the session. And when I refer to me, I'm speaking to myself under hypnosis, which means the answers are coming from the 25th. I'm going to start reading here, but before I do, as always, I'd like to thank you for subscribing, liking, and commenting on this video. You know how happy it makes me. All right, so Lorrayne, when you talked about the 12,000 alerting people to the negative polarity, we sounded like party poopers because we always remember that it is our mission to keep us on track on a planet. I realized that I've had the same personality in my human life. I've always felt like Cassandra. I can see where things are heading, but people around me cannot see it and keep heading in the quote unquote wrong direction. It's very frustrating and lonesome work. Is this how the 12,000 have felt, or is it just now because of the particular situation we've had here? And just to clarify a couple of things here, obviously this is my question, so I'm the one who has been feeling this way. I feel like I can see things and that other people are just blindly following along, et cetera, et cetera. And we know now this is because of alignment. But the reason I was asking is because it's just always been the case that we all have felt so frustrated the entire time we've been here. And is this normal even when we are on other planets? And also when I refer to Cassandra, Cassandra was the person, the oracle in the Iliad, and she was the one that told the Trojans not to open the door and not to let the horse in. And of course, they didn't listen. So, me. Yes, so the good news is that, yes, it has been on this planet because we've seen that no matter what we try to do, no matter how provident we have been, really people are not supporting us, not following our input, then things are going to go south anyway. And now we're simplifying things because in reality, we know that we ourselves have supported a lot of the stuff. So we're not trying to say we only said to do good things and other people have not listened and did bad things. Again, these are the judgments we have at 3D level. It didn't quite happen that way. It didn't transpire that way in reality. But just to stay along the lines of this question, basically, yes, we have felt this way here. But the truth is we don't always feel this way. Even while we're here, we already mentioned during this takedown, we always work on other planets at the same time. We don't have to be incarnated on other planets. Now, why are we able to work on other planets is still fix things or calibrate things or help calibrate things or adjust things on other planets while we're here, because we might just have to do a small intervention and things get fixed. So of course, we don't feel that way when we go to these other planets right now, and we have not always felt this way. Even in the future, hopefully, you know, quote unquote future, we're not going to feel this way. We're not going to feel frustrated. Oh, nobody's listening to us. When we are, of course, on New Earth, we're going to be on vacation. But when we go back fully into the game, where we will have a veil again, we're going to do our light work or duties, quote unquote, if you want to call it that. Because Clea says she doesn't want to be a light worker anymore, but her interest is still to be a light worker. And after a long vacation, she'll be fine. She'll be ready to go back. And she won't feel frustrated because she'll help recalibrate. And there will be no sorry ending like we're having right now. So yes, so that's the good news, is that this is just a point in time, which doesn't mean that we are always heated right away, that we always get to control everything. We are not little kings. We've expressed this thought, this concept before. We don't just go in and say, this is what's going to happen. This is what you guys need to do, okay? I know what needs to happen and you guys got to do it. This is not a company. This is not a corporation, how we run these games, but it's a give and take, right? Everybody has an input. The 12,000 obviously are in charge of, again, they have chosen to be responsible for helping recalibrate a lot of different places, or they might sound the alarm or whatever it is. And normally we are heated and we are supported. Other planets are not nearly as dark as this is then. So our calls for recalibration don't go unheeded all the time. So this will end. This frustration will end. And I cannot tell you how happy this answer made me. Lorrayne, thank you. If all my friends are gone, why are they acting so erratically and taking advantage of me or betraying my trust? Aren't they supposed to continue being like they were? Am I making this happen? And I know this is happening a lot. I have noticed even in the Telegram group, people report cases where their friends are acting very out of character, like randomly doing things that make no sense whatsoever. They're not even in line with what the relationship has been in the past. And this has happened to me as well. So I think this answer might interest you if you are going through anything like that and people are acting randomly around you. Me. Yeah. So we are making everything happen, including sometimes, not always, but sometimes the behavior of the NPCs around us. And the reason we do that, now the NPCs, we already know, they break down. Not all of them and not at the same rate or not in the same way. We don't want to generalize, but they can break down. It's much easier for them to break down than when the essence was in place. And so they can act erratically. But the specific question Claire was wondering about is, why are these people betraying me? Because she's had a couple of instances where some of her friends, people she loved and who loved her, have done things that are really beyond the pale. And so this is odd, because if you're an NPC, all of a sudden you have a completely different personality. Okay, you can be erratic, but why all of a sudden such switching of what you're doing that's completely out of character? And of course, there is a piece to this, again, because the NPC doesn't know any better. The NPC doesn't really have the guidance. Well, it's not that he doesn't really have the guidance. He doesn't have the guidance that he had before. But it's also that we sometimes want, again, we are creating our own personal shell. We're using NPCs to our benefit to show us what we want to see. Just like when we used to say people are gone, but you expect to see people when you go to the supermarket. So there you go, there's people around you. But truly, if you looked, instead of looking with your eyes, if you felt into the supermarket, you would know there's only you in that place. There's nobody else. The chances of there being even one other essence are very, very slim for all of us now. And Claire has found herself going into places, into supermarkets, where everything was, there was nothing there. And she actually felt sick as she went in because she was having this contrast between what she wanted to see and the fact that her reality was glitching, because she could feel very clearly that there was nobody there. And that's not a good feeling. And just, I don't know if you guys have seen my post. I made a post in community tab some time ago about the situation. And it was so weird. I'm glad they talked about it and they explained why that happened. So it's pretty cool. At any rate, so yeah, we are making some of our friends do certain things specifically. And this is what Claire wants to know. She made her friend, the one friend she's thinking of, or the two friends, do this because she wanted to cut ties with them. And the reason she wanted to cut ties with them is because she doesn't want to see the NPCs anymore. She's cutting ties with more and more people, whether it's in a knowledge fact or it's just happening by negligence, by ignoring these NPCs. Because the fact is, there's nobody there to communicate with. There's nobody there to connect with. And she has no interest. So she's making these things happen. So she can tell herself, oh, that's why I don't call this person anymore. Because she's never been this way. Claire knows very well. She's always been the person who builds golden bridges. She's always the person who says, well, I'm sure they meant well, and so it's fine. You know, we all make mistakes, which she very much believes. And it's true. We've all, you know, none of us have been evil here, fully evil here. Even in the case of the dark, we're all everything. So we can do whatever we want. So in that sense, it was a good way of relating to life that Claire had. And again, good, quote unquote, good means nothing. It means it works in alignment with what she wants to experience here. And that's what we mean by good, effective, we should say. So in the past, she would have let it go. And again, because there was an essence there and all of that. Now she's not interested. So her excuse is that I'm not going to put up with this. Bye. But why does she feel free to do this? To say bye without regrets? Because the person is gone already. This is just for show. Saying bye, I'm not going to call you, is just for show. The person is gone. So better not to have them around to remind you that they're gone, basically. That's what we're doing. And so many of us, and you saw it in the Telegram group, a lot of posts have come up about this. We are isolating ourselves. Why are we isolating ourselves all of a sudden? Have we all become antisocial suddenly in a few months? And I have to tell you, this was tough to take, but I realize it's true. Basically, my personality has changed. That would be the only other explanation. It's like all of a sudden, I just don't care to maintain these contacts. And I've always been pretty easygoing and et cetera. And now I'm like, no, I'm not doing this anymore. So it's interesting. Lorrayne, it's easier not to interact. Me. Yeah, exactly. Lorrayne, thank you. Claire met someone she knows really well and couldn't remember who he was. This seems to happen to her a lot, that she forgets names and even faces, whereas she used to have excellent memory. Why is this happening? Is it because these people are NPCs? And even if so, erasing their names is not really helping the appearance of the shell. She feels like there is this iron ring shrinking around her in her circle of friends. And eventually it will be just her. Me. Yeah, there's not much to say. Yes, it is because they're NPCs. They don't matter. They're disappearing from our memory because, again, that makes it easier for us to think the people that I know are just here, whereas we just forget about the people that are deceased because they're gone. They are gone. And no, it's not helping the shell. But we already said we're beyond that now. Our personal shell, we're completely aware. Some of us are completely aware, even though we were fighting it until not too long ago, that all of this is fake. All of this is pretend. And that's what you guys mean when you say in the group, we're waiting. We've discussed this before. It feels like we're waiting because we might as well already be on your earth. We already know this is all fake. The veil is basically not even there anymore for us. It's there to the extent that we still pretend to be in this game. So we still pretend that these things are concrete, material, that we can touch them. We still pretend that there are governments out there and nothing has changed. Claire's getting ready to do her taxes. We still pretend that that's happening. They were laughing. But we know. We already know this is all a game. Claire's thinking, okay, I'm going to pretend this thing now. I'm going to start doing bookkeeping and I'm going to pretend to do this and that. I already know this is all stupid. Why am I even doing this? Do you see? The gig is up. We already said this. And so, yeah, this is just one more example. We do forget things. All of us forget all kinds of things nowadays. Not because there's anything wrong with our heads. They were laughing because the people are gone. You remember what? The names of bodies of NPCs now? And the last part was that, yes, that feeling is very vivid for Clea because the fact is we are shrinking. I mean, there's almost nobody left here. So in case you've been having sudden attacks of amnesia, which are like mind-boggling, I do have them. I will not remember names of people. I don't know who I've had certain conversations with. I have excellent memory. I don't understand. I remember things that are like completely random and all of a sudden I forgot basic things that I should know. And then I realized that this is, I had a feeling that there was a reason for this. And so this answer makes sense for me. Lorrayne, my perception of the reality and the reason I would like to know a deadline, the only reason my mind would like to know when we get to do the takedown is because I want to know, should I do this thing? Should I concern myself with this thing? As in Clea doing taxes. What's the point if we're going to be gone? Me. Yeah, there is no point, and you're right. At the same time, Lorrayne, we said this before, and Claire likes to make her little disclaimer where she says, hey, nobody do anything crazy and go to the casino and spend your entire retirement and so on. You know, you don't have to save if you don't want to. We're not going to be here that much longer. But again, you want to maintain a certain degree of the shell in place. It's like you were saying, it comforts you, makes you feel safe that you have this little, you were saying this little area of your brain that you keep aside and say, well, but it can always be longer. Because you prepare yourself. You're trying to cope with your emotions. You're trying to handle the possibility that we might still be here for some time. So we would say, don't make your life harder. It's already hard enough what we are doing now in the background, and even consciously. Don't make your life harder. If it's something that will make you feel better, say, you know what? Better safe than sorry. I should do this. Like Claire doing our taxes. You know what? We're still here. This is the time of the year when I'm supposed to do my taxes. I'm going to do my taxes. Doesn't mean that you have to believe and it's like, oh my gosh, this is real. This is what it is. But it doesn't mean don't do it. So if you feel that you want to renovate your house, you might not get to enjoy it. But what if we stay here another 6 months, a year? Who knows, right? It's up to you. What if you decide to do that? Why would you hold yourself back? So that's what we're trying to say. We're not telling you paint your house or do your taxes. But we are saying, if it makes sense for you, you feel better. In your mind, you're thinking, okay, this is how I can cope with this. Really, I should be responsible. Really, I should do my taxes because who knows, maybe this is not real. Maybe this will never happen because we know we all have this in the back of our minds, right? It's fine. Do what you need to do. Don't put off things. There's no need for that. And I know some of you have asked me questions over time where you said, I want to buy this thing, but I don't know if I'm going to get to enjoy it, or I want to do these renovations, but does it make any sense? I'm glad that this question came up from Lorrayne and that this basically integrates everything we've been talking about. And I always say, you know, just proceed as if we're going to be here forever, okay? You're never going to regret doing what helps you live in 3D so that you don't go crazy thinking, oh my gosh, what if we don't leave and all of a sudden you cause anxiety for yourself? I always say, you're reasonable. You know, we know what we know. I'm not saying it's not real. I think it's not real, or I think it's never going to happen. I know what I believe. At the same time, I still act as if I am in 3D, even though 3D is breaking down in front of my eyes all the time. And I know what's happening to you guys as well. So this is just ridiculous that we are in this in-between state. I know how hard it is. Lorraine, just once in my life, I would like to be irresponsible. And they were both laughing. The 25th was laughing too, me. And that's okay. Then do that. But then you are aware that you're being irresponsible because that's your choice of experience. And that's okay. But don't put yourself in a situation where then your higher self is saying, well, for me to feel like this is real, because remember, we do want to keep the shell in place as much as possible, even though we're not even capable of putting it in place fully like it was before. Well, it's not that we're not capable. It's that really at this point it's ridiculous. Like we know it's not real, but we're trying. We are trying to convince ourselves, yeah, still real, still real. So if that's the case, just don't put yourself in a situation where the next thing you know, after the fact that you're irresponsible, the higher self steps in and says, well, now you got consequences because this is how you're going to know that this is real. And we're laughing. You see, this is what we're trying to say. Don't make it unpleasant for yourself. That said, if irresponsible to you means that you're going to go have pizza tonight, knowing that you're going to have a tummy ache tomorrow, maybe that's okay with you. Maybe you choose to do that. We're just saying, we still want the shell. We can still use, we use triggers from outside reality, quote unquote, outside and quote unquote reality to convince ourselves that this is real while we're still here. So don't put yourself in a situation where in your mind, the obvious next consequence to what you have done or not done is something dire, because we really don't want to have dire consequences in our life. In other words, same reason why you wouldn't now say, I'm going to jump off the 8th floor of the building because this is not real anyway. We would say, don't do that. Now, your higher self would have to step in because, again, we already said nothing's going to happen to you before you go to New Earth, because you are going to New Earth and you're not going to die and have to reincarnate on New Earth. So we know that nothing's going to happen to you. But again, don't put yourself in a situation. So if irresponsible to you means I just want to be freer in my life, enjoy yourself, but also be aware of the fact that we do want a shell in place. Lorraine, yeah, it's not in my nature. Me. Well, you can be more lighthearted when we go to New Earth, so you'll have plenty of time to explore. Lorraine, good. Clea asks, her daughter used to do the mudra with her hands when she was a baby. Did this have a meaning? And by mudra, I mean my daughter used to move her hands in interesting ways all the time, like continuously. I mean, to the point that I noticed it. It wasn't just a normal movement I've seen other babies before. So I've been wanting to ask about this, but I also want to share the answer because it is so interesting how we notice certain things for a reason. So I want to bring this up in case you are, doesn't have to be this particular situation, but you have something in the back of your mind that keeps coming up. So here's the answer from the 25th. So the way that Clea was thinking about it when her daughter was little was that, of course she's connected, she's spiritual, and we allow that to be the case because children, right, they still have a connection with the infinite. Before we get trained into this reality, we know what the rules are and how to play the game fully or to be fully immersed in the game. But yes, and so she was correct in that sense. But it's not just because she was a child, because just like the rest of us, this is our higher self playing, right? And so, yes, it did have a meaning, of course. It was reminding Clea of the connection, also showing Clea how connected her daughter is, because she is, just like all of us. It's just that we don't show it. We don't want to show it. Clea was an atheist. She certainly was not interpreting things as there it is. That's a connection to spirit, We can ignore anything. We're great at this. That's the whole name of the game here. Ignore everything that you don't want to believe. They were laughing. And so, yes, that was the meaning. I mean, she was connected. It wasn't just a movement. Basically, the gist of this question is, it wasn't just a movement of the hands. Her daughter really was showing Clea. This was happening to show Clea's spirit, right? It's one of those things that Clea was supposed to see where she could say, well, clearly this is not 3D. And it wasn't. Her daughter is still very connected because, of course, she's a child, so she's much more open. That line, she's not fully in 3D. Either way, 3D is collapsing. And so really none of us are fully in 3D anymore. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you, as always, for watching. I really appreciate your support, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Take care.